This podcast is brought to you by PRISM Brain Mapping, a revolution in understanding human behaviour. Move away from the norm. In our first podcast, I talked about how the VUCA acronym could help us navigate through the COVID-19 crisis. This podcast was released in the first week of lockdown, a time when everything felt new, unbelievable, and overwhelming. Cast your mind back just a few weeks and imagine someone telling you that within a month all schools will be closed, supermarkets would be stripped bare, all public gatherings would be cancelled, millions of people would be working at home or not working at all, the Excel Centre will be turned into a giant hospital in just 10 days, and of course the Queen will make an extraordinary broadcast to the nation. Every news bulletin brings new developments. We follow the news avidly, not because of a belief that following the news is important, but because so much is happening so quickly. The use of the word unprecedented is, well, unprecedented. The size and speed of what is happening is quite literally dizzying. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought a heightened level of change, and we're all getting used to a new normal, and amidst all of this, there is the impact on us personally. Whatever the change is, and no matter how much we consciously accept or even embrace it, we may find ourselves struggling to adjust or acclimatise. But luckily we have something on our side, and it's no cinch. It's your brain, the most powerful known entity in the whole universe. And it's on your side because it has one extraordinary property that is absolutely critical in times of change: neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity refers to how the brain is wired and its capacity to rewire its neural pathways, and it works a bit like this. When you think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion, you are carving out a new road. If you keep travelling that road, your brain begins to use this pathway and this new way of thinking more and more. Feeling and doing become second nature. The old pathway becomes used less and less, and it weakens. The process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. That all sounds very positive, but does it actually work in practice? Here is my personal story highlighting how neuroplasticity works in action. I first heard the word neuroplasticity some 20 years ago when my son Peter was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at the age of 4. Put simply, cerebral palsy means that a part of the brain, the cerebrum, is damaged, and this results in a loss of movement, balance and posture, palsy. In Peter's case, the overriding view was that the damage to his brain would mean that he would struggle to live a normal life and would almost certainly be confined to a wheelchair. So in Peter's words, let me start from the beginning. When I started walking, my family weren't filled with joy or happiness. Instead, they were scared that I was walking on my tippy toes and that something was wrong. It turns out it was. I was taken to hospitals, doctors, physiotherapists, and I was finally diagnosed with a disability called cerebral palsy. I don't remember being diagnosed, but I remember being just a kid who grew up knowing the only way to walk was on my tippy toes. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I thought everyone else was weird for walking on their flat feet, but it turns out I was the odd one. I got to about 6 or 7 when I began to understand what was wrong. However, I didn't understand why I had to go through all the things I did. My mum, dad and I went to London to see a specialist who told me that I was going to be in a wheelchair by the time I was 16. Imagine hearing that as a kid. I genuinely didn't feel like doing anything after that. I would be the kid finishing secondary school in a wheelchair, or so I was told. Reflecting on Peter's story, it is at times like this when you can accept the status quo or you can look to change it, and one extraordinary specialist seemed to have the answer. If you keep Peter in a wheelchair, he will never walk again. However, if you let him attempt to walk, however uncomfortable this is for him and you, he will gradually find a way to do it. On the surface, this seemed unbelievable. Let's hear from Peter again. At school, my classmates would look at me weirdly, not because of my disability, but because they simply didn't understand it. I could never be the football guy, but I still loved playing it. I used to get frustrated watching kids run and do mad things whilst I would struggle to walk without tripping up every few steps. I would get severely bullied, people would rugby tackle me to the ground and watch me struggle to get back up. My parents developed a special kind of stretch and exercise routine. Every night without fail I had to do these. It hurt. I would cry and hug my mum, simply saying, "Why me? Why me? Why me, mum?" As parents watching, it appeared as though for months nothing changed. Peter was still unstable, falling over uncontrollably, unable to get up, and then a magical moment happened. Peter, impatient to be helped up, crawled to a garden wall and awkwardly managed to stand up unaided. From this point onwards, over months and years, sometimes agonisingly slowly, Peter began to walk properly. Then he began to run short distances and even kick a ball. He still fell over occasionally, but was able to get up completely unaided. At the age of 16, Peter went for his final gait analysis at Guy's Hospital. On his first analysis at the age of 4, he had registered 3 out of 10 on the scale, which meant in practical terms he could walk unaided for small distances, would be prone to falling over and could not get himself up again. As a consequence of this, he was registered as disabled. In this final test, he scored 9, almost perfect. We were all so proud of Peter. Now at the age of 25, Peter drives, walks long distances, plays football and tennis, in fact has a full and normal life. This, though, occasionally feeling like a miracle, is not. It is this thing called neuroplasticity, the remarkable ability of the brain to change. In Peter's case, it changed to bypass the damage and find ways to help him do the things he wanted. Neuroplasticity makes change possible, although it takes total commitment, tenacity, and of course a positive mindset by all concerned. Peter's exercise routine started when he was just 4 years old and continued well into his teens. I will let Peter sum this up in his own inimitable style. Whenever times are tough, and oh God they are, believe me, there are times I feel like laying in bed and not wanting to get out. Then I think of what I went through and how I overcame it. That is what gets me out of bed. That's what makes me who I am. Thank you for listening to this podcast brought to you by PRISM Brain Mapping, the online behavioural profiling tool for leadership, coaching, recruitment, team building, in fact anything involving human behaviour. Please see our website prismbrainmapping.com for more information.